Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking into something specific, Latte Fieno STG hay milk.
That's right.
It's a traditional method, and it seems particularly relevant if you're, say, an international food professional or maybe an Italian food importer looking for, those high-quality certified products.
Absolutely. And we're drawing on sources like gourm.it and the CCPB certification guidelines to really understand what makes it different.
Yeah, what makes it unique and sort of where it stands right now, especially comparing Italy to, other parts of Europe. So the mission today is pretty clear. Give you a straightforward rundown of Latte Fieno STG, useful if you're thinking about sourcing it.
Exactly. So Latte Fieno, it got this EU designation, Traditional Speciality Guaranteed STG, back in 2016.
Okay, 2016.
And the absolute core thing for professionals to grasp is the production. The milk has to come from cows that haven't had GMOs, and crucially, no unstyled feed, no silage.
Right, no GMOs, no silage. That immediately flags it as, different, traditional.
It does. And gourm.it really highlights the diet aspect, too.
Yeah, which is?
Well, the rules say at least 75%, 3/4 of the cow's annual dry matter intake has to be roughage.
Okay, roughage like hay.
Exactly. Fresh or dried fodder, hay, straw, that sort of thing. That's the bulk of the diet.
And definitely no fermented feed, like silage you mentioned, or GMOs. Strictly forbidden.
Correct.
Now, gourm points out this isn't just some tiny niche thing everywhere. It's quite big in some places.
Oh, yeah. Austria, for example, they produce a lot. Over 450 million liters a year.
Wow.
Which is like 15% of their total milk production? So significant. And it's apparently growing in France, too.
Which makes you wonder why maybe not so much in Italy yet. That's what gourmand seems to suggest.
That's the interesting part, especially for anyone involved in the Italian market. It's not widespread in Italy, no. But gourm, it did mention a really interesting example, Ferrari Bio.
Ah, yes.
They're an organic farm, and they produce milk following these Latte Fieno STG rules.
Okay.
And what's really interesting is they use this milk for their organic Parmigiano Reggiano.
Which already has its own protection, the DOP.
Exactly. So you get this triple guarantee, organic, Parmigiano Reggiano DOP, and Latte Fieno STG. That's a strong quality signal.
Definitely a premium positioning.
Yeah.
If you are looking to source this in Italy or produce it, what's the certification side look like?
Okay, so if you want to use that STG label, whether you're a farmer or a dairy, you've got to follow the EU regulation, that's 216304.
Right.
And you'll work with the certifying body, CCPB is one example. Producers apply, they need farm details, land info for the STG herds, lists of approved feed suppliers, the works.
Standard certification stuff, but specific to these rules. What about the dairies? The processors?
Similar process. They need details on their facility, their food business registration, the SCI Alimentare in Italy, and importantly, if they're handling other milk too, they need a layout showing dedicated STG lines or clear separation.
Makes sense. You need to guarantee no mixing.
Absolutely. And there are controls, of course. Operators do their own checks, but the certifying body, the ODC, does conformity checks too. It varies for producers. Depends if they only do Latte Fieno or have separate STG units or mix herds but keep feed separate. It can range from checks on 20% of producers up to 100% annually.
Okay.
Transformers, the dairies, they get checked at least once a year, 100% minimum.
And they're checking adherence to those feed rules we talked about?
Definitely. No GMOs, no silage, but also a bunch of other things are banned. Wet or fermented hay, certain byproducts, animal feeds generally, except for young stock garden waste, fruit, potatoes, even urea.
Quite a list.
It is. And always back to that minimum, 75% roughage in the annual dry matter. And strict separation if you're handling different milk types on the same site, clear ID for animals, separate feed storage.
So pulling this together for our listeners, especially international professionals, Latte Fieno STG really signifies a strong commitment. Traditional methods, high quality, strict rules, and importantly, it's all auditable.
Precisely. It's a clear mark.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to consider. We see growing consumer interest globally in sustainable traditional foods. Gourm.it highlighted that Ferrari Bio example. So what potential does Latte Fieno STG really hold for Italian producers? Could this be a significant way for them to stand out, to gain more recognition in the international market? Something to think about.